Okay, dear venerable sisters and brothers, Dhamma friends, for the second day, we are going to start the second talk in the series. May everyone settle down and give the consent with sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Katamacha uso dve dhamma bhavi tabba samatocha vipassana chati ti. Dear reverend brothers and sisters, Dhamma friends, we have taken this Dasuththara Sutta as the main topic for the series, and that particular sutta you find in the long discourses, Digha Nikaya, towards the end of the book. And as the name indicated, this is a series of compilation of information or Dhamma delivered by the Buddha in different places. Venerable Sariputta is arranging in order, starting with the first group, consists of single factors. Second group consists of two factors. Third one consists of three factors, like arranging in a numerical order, ascending order. Hence the name Dasuththara. And we are, for this particular retreat, we have taken the second group dealing with the two aspects. So yesterday we have taken what are the two aspects helpful greatly or much. Venerable Sariputta is asking this question in front of the fellow meditating monks, and then he himself give the answer, the Satticha Sampajanyancha, mindfulness and the clear comprehension. And now today he is asking which are the two things one must develop or cultivate. And then answer is, he says, calm and insight, or tranquility and insight meditation. In Pali it is called samatocha vipassanacha. So in the meditation world, usually some teachers as well as students or followers more towards the samatha side, some are more towards the vipassana side, but both of them are at the beginning may appear like contradictory, but when you advance each other, they become complementary. So in the early part of the meditation, they appear like two different things, but when you are developing the wider view, correct view, you may see more and more you advance, or we can say more and more you become mindful, or more and more you understand the clear comprehension, they become complementary towards the end. So therefore one must, or at least beginners must understand what are the two approaches, namely calm and the insight, or tranquility and the insight. Whatever it may be, the most helpful, greatly helpful aspect is the mindfulness and the clear comprehension. So we can say, whenever someone applying one's mindfulness towards a calmness or tranquility, mindfulness have kind of a definition, and the same when you are applying for the insight, you can see some other shades of the meaning or definition for the mindfulness. So therefore when you are advancing, you may get many definitions, many understanding toward the mindfulness and the clear comprehension. That is how you become veteran, you become wider in understanding the mindfulness and the concentration. So, as Venerable Sariputta presents, the first thing you have to understand is the samatha, or calmness, or tranquility. For that, we can say you must have a kind of a wider view, or correct view, sammaditthi. It is called samatha sammaditthi. With that only, you can go to the vipassana sammaditthi, or correct view, or wider view towards the inside meditation. So therefore, as and when you are advancing through your meditative life, meditative practice, your view become wider and wider. So two aspects related to the today's topic is your correct view towards the samatha, or calmness, or tranquility, and your correct view, or wider view, towards the insight, or see things as they are. Before going to that, I would like to mention, for the completeness of the talk, before both of them, samatha sammaditthi and the vipassana sammaditthi, you must have kammasakata jnana sammaditthi. That is to say, you have your understanding towards the good begets good and the bad begets bad. This is a very, very preliminary thing, and that is how one become religious, spiritual. So one to become spiritual and religious, he or she must be familiar with the karma and the karma result, or in simple English, good begets good and the bad begets bad. If you are not acquainted with that, or if you are not with the correct view, you will not develop much of the religious understanding, and therefore hardly you will get a chance to go into the samatha sammaditthi. That means wider view to the calmness or tranquility, or wider view towards the insight, or to see things as they are. So when we are looking at the world, we can say always it's a given fact. Only a little fraction of the population believe or live up to this kammasakata jnana sammaditthi, that is to say, good begets good and the bad begets bad. Whenever someone is accepting it, ready to appreciate it, he or she get morally responsible for one's behavior, physical, verbal and the mental, and then only he or she can understand others' suffering, whether I am creating suffering by my physical, verbal and the mental deeds, or I am not, or I am doing no other harm to the others. That sensitivity we call moral shame and the moral fear, or generally we say kammasakata jnana sammaditthi. Whatever I am going to do, whatever the karmic thing or action I am performing through the physical, verbal and the mental, never go without giving consequences. So how much I am responsible about my physical deeds, verbal and the mental. So that is very, very preliminary, and Theravada tradition, or specifically Theravada commentarial exegesis indicates this kammasakata jnana sammaditthi is prevailing in the world whether Buddha appear or not. It is always a minority of the population. They believe whatever I am going to do, whatever volitional thing I am going to do, I am going to get the result of it. And that idea, Hinduism and Buddhism is basically accepting. So whenever that kammasakata jnana sammaditthi is thriving, whenever it is prevalent in a person, that particular person restrain he or she from the physical verbal deeds or ready to take the responsibility. So it is leading more and more to the cultured behavior, gentle behavior, and very calm and quiet behavior that is leading only up to the calmness in the physical and verbal deeds. And that particular person may one day understand the physical and verbal calmness is very, very superficial. If the mind is unrestrained, if the mind is not disciplined, your physical and verbal calmness at any time gets scattered off, destroyed. So therefore, upon this already earned physical and verbal calmness or restrainment, you have to think about calming down of the mind. That is what you call bhavana or cultivation, and that is advancement or more commitment towards the meditation. That is what we call calmness or samatha bhavana. So when and where someone is concerned about one's physical and verbal behavior, then he or she take up this mindfulness further to look into one's mind. So that is how sitting meditation basically come into being, or walking meditation, formal meditation come into being, because the kammasakata jnana sammaditi, or good begets good and the bad begets bad, need no any kind of a meditation center, need no any kind of a regular practice or formal practice. You can be normal in the day-to-day activities. But whenever he or she going to take it seriously and going to further into the samatha sammaditi, then he or she has to think about the macro and micro environment. Otherwise, very difficult to go into the mind or mental aspect. So when that is how the Buddha, whenever he is mentioning about specifically on the Anapanasati Bhavana, he used to prescribe macroclimate, that is to going into a forest or sit under a tree or come to a solitude place, aranyagatowa, rukhamulagatowa, sunyagara. And you, specifically lay people, understand it's how difficult in your day-to-day life to find time to go into a forest or sit under a tree or go to a solitude place. It is a kind of a renunciation. It's a kind of a sacrification. So only the serious yogis, only the people think not only the physical and verbal restrainment, but the mental culture is important. These are the people going to take up this meditative life and going to the forest and or under a tree or a solitude place. That I would call the macroclimate. And then as far as the calmness is concerned, tranquility is concerned, then Buddha says, for a given person, there are 4 cardinal postures: sitting posture, standing posture, walking posture, and the lying down and sleeping. Then he prescribed for a beginner intended with the calmness or samatha or tranquility as the meditation, sitting posture is the most important. Because when you sit, I try to see, you can maintain the posture without any intention, without any volitional activity. Of course, lying down posture also good, but it is more inclined to the sleepiness, sloth and torpor. But sitting posture is somewhere in between. You can adjust your posture and let the body knowledge to maintain the posture, and you can look into, if you are really interested in, what is happening in the mind. When compared to that, you can stand also, but you may try in the standing specifically for the beginner, maintaining of the standing posture is little involved than sitting. And walking meditation, it is intentional action is there. Left leg, right leg. And besides that, there are a lot of posture junctions from sitting posture to standing up to the walking, from the walking to many other activities. So these things are not considered in Samatha Bhavana or tranquility meditation. We confine on experimental basis, consider the forest or under the tree or a solitude place as our laboratory. So we go into the lab and then make the microclimate sitting posture and be aware what is the experience of the sitting posture when everything happening without volitional involvement or without conscious activities, and to train the mind, make it more introvert, bring the mind at home. It is often prescribed to close your eyes because, for example, if you sit cross-legged in the lotus posture, half lotus or quarter lotus or whatever may be the posture, and it appear like a pyramid in the shape or like a ant hill. And in one example, Buddha mentioned, of course in the literature it is been mentioned, suppose there is an ant hill, have two access holes, and the hunter is chasing behind an iguana, and the iguana is creeping into the ant hill, and now the iguana finds the shelter inside the ant hill, but the hunter is trying ways and means to take the iguana out and to kill or whatever it may be. Under such circumstances, what the hunter is about to do is he close all the holes except one hole in a vantage position, and then burn a fire and smoke inside the smoking the ant hill, so that iguana find uncomfortable. When it is about to jump out, iguana has no option other than the only open hole. So that is the hole where the hunter is very attentive and alert. So whenever it is coming out, the hunter can do as he wish. Exactly when you sit, the Buddha mentioned, your eyes are one hole or access door, ears another access door to the external stimuli, your nose, your tongue, and the bodily tactile sensation, and the mind. So whenever, if you wish to be aware of the mind, you have to restrain your transactions, and that is how you volunteer to close your eyes so that there won't be much of seeing shapes and the colors. And you have to go to a silent place. Today, as we discussed, Nissarana is not a good place for that, because you have a lot of sounds. Anyway, your volunteering or your attention must be not to listen sounds. So be it there, but if possible, if it may be fairly difficult for a beginner, I know. Specifically, I know, whenever you try to do samatha meditation, calmness, so that is the subject we are now talking. Therefore, these sounds are really distracting. Not only for the beginner, the Buddha says even the person who got the first jhana, the external sound is irritating. Beyond the second jhana onward, it is not irritating, but the first jhana itself, it's an achievement, but even then the sound is irritating, so therefore, if the external sounds are there, that is not the best. And then don't worry about the smells, taste, but focus the attention on your bodily posture. Be aware of the, what you call, just being. So that is how you make the internal or microclimate conducive and suitable for calmness meditation or tranquility, when and where it is happening. Just like an iguana inside the anthill, after getting smoke, the mind become agitated. Mind find so much of ways and means to jump out. So it may, if there is no external visual objects, mind-made hallucination, visual objects, and lot of other mind-made pictures. And when and where there is no sounds, even no external sound, mind can prepare, mind can make so much of sounds. And the smell and taste are usually less, but the body also can make so much of signals. So therefore, when and where you try to focus into the body, you find the iguana is very, very agitated and try to jump out of one or the other holes. So your attention is to see how the mind is working, and it never happy with single object. It never happy with the bodily tactile sensation, because it often take time with seeing. At the failure of seeing, it take time with the hearing. At the failure of the seeing and hearing, only the smell come into being, and then the taste. The last thing mind is happy with is the body. So the Buddha present them in the Chakku Sota Ghana Jiva Kaya in Pali. That is the way the proliferation, development of defilements, and how the mind going to take entertainment. First and foremost thing is the eye, visual object, and then sounds, the smell, taste, and the last is the bodily tactile sensation. That is the one Buddha prescribed for beginners. So when and where you try to keep the mind or mindfulness with your bodily posture, you may find how difficult it is to keep up, because so far you had any restrainment. Mind was monkey mind. It is called mad monkey mind. So when and where you try to focus into the something tangible, something neutral, and you can understand how much it is agitated, how much means excited. So therefore, immediately what you can experience is the opposite of the calmness. It is like a bird in the forest, in the wilderness, you bring it and put into a cage. Or wild buffalo, you take it out of the forest and restraining in the center of the village with a driven peg and tied very well, and you can see how wildness it can happen. So much so the bewilderment can happen. So therefore, even though you have the Kammasakata Jnana Sammaditi or broader view towards your physical and verbal restrainment, even though you have the desire or motivation and the intention to make it calm, the first and foremost thing any yogi experiences this unexpected amount of agitation in the mind at the beginning, because this is the first time you are going to look at the mind and try to restrain the mind. Instead, what is happening is mind is reacting. So, only way out is, don't get disheartened, don't think this is a mistake of your personal account, don't think it is going to last ever, just keep on practicing. One day, you may see, occasionally, mind can be here and now, understand the posture, and when and where it come into the posture, not only the maybe late exegetes, the commentators, they try to give features or characteristics whenever the mind come and falls calm and quiet on the posture, When it is happening, your mind is not associating the past and or experience the regret. Never go to the future and go for the excitement, or as far as the time dimension is concerned, when and where the mindfulness or the attention adverting of your mind is to the body, you can see time-wise, not the past, not the future, but you can see here, now. And the other thing is, when and where mind is be here and now, it is not other places at your home or your office place or your other thinking, other places, it will be here. So, time dimension and the space dimension, you come now here. And if you are in a forest, of course, you may be a singular person, but if you are going to a sunyagara like this, a lot of other people are there. So even then, your sole effort or your ditti or your view must be not to concern about others, but to keep it here and now. I am sitting. So the teachers, therefore, it says, some of the definition or some of the characteristics of the calmness or early sign of the calmness is not associating the past and going to regret. Not associating the future, no excitement. Atitanudhavanam chittang vikhopanupatitang samadhissa paripanto. This is how the teachers explain, later commentators, as far as mind is associating the past, definitely it is remorse and regret, no calmness. Anagata patikankanam chittam vikampitam samadhissa paripanto. As far as the mind is projecting future, always the excitement, and there won't be any calmness, daydreaming, fantasizing. So in samatha, you try to avoid past and the future, try to keep it here and now. That means you take your body as the reference point, your body as the pivotal point or benchmark, keep it here, not the past, not the future. So if I am to explain what must be your correct view regard towards the vipassana, insight is, I already made the statement is samatha, what you do is avoiding the past and the future and try to keep it here and now. Yes, well and true, good. But in vipassana, even though you wish to keep it here, if it goes to the past, you try to see the truth. Whenever you are in the past, always regret, always no concentration. So now you have to compare whenever it is in the here, now, no past, no regret, early signs of the concentration. Whenever it is in the past, if you are to understand and appreciate that whenever it is going to associate the past, it's always with regret, it's a truth, it's reality. It is something under your very nose. So therefore, vipassana yogi, when compared to the samatha yogi, not only try to keep it here or keep the attention here, but whenever it is unwillingly or unexpected way associated in the past, try to understand, is it true whenever mind is associated in the past, always the mental background is the regret, always the lack of calmness and agitation. So that understanding itself he is ready to appreciate. That is the difference between samatha yogi and the vipassana yogi. So let me explain the same thing whenever the mind is projecting future. So samatha yogi always try to avoid it and pull it again and again to keep it here. But the vipassana yogi, if you know the correct view towards the insight, he or she may try to keep it here, but all of a sudden you can see the mind is projecting future, daydreaming, fantasizing, and whenever it happens you can see the excitement. And you can see it is opposite of calmness. So that is also a truth. It is happening under your very nose, even without your intention. It is jumping future. And whenever it is going, it is excitement. That is the opposite of calmness. But it is a fact. It's a truth. So Vipassana yogi, even though it is associated in the past and the future, try to find a reason to be not to regret. Understand, now my mind is in future, it is not my intention, it is not my conscious action, but it is the thing happening. So is it true, when the mind is going to the future, always it is with excitement? Am I experiencing this excitement? Is it opposite to the calmness? So therefore, even there is a past or future, three aspects. In the both the sides, you can reconfirm. If you are a Vipassana, if you have the Vipassana Samadhi, past is regret and the lack of concentration. Future is with the excitement, lack of concentration. So when and where it is happening, the Vipassana person, or some people are born with, some people are with the personality traits toward the Vipassana, they never regret whenever the mind jump into the past and the future. Instead, reconfirm the same fact, whether it is jump past or future. If it is the past, the regret. If it is the future, it's the excitement. Is it true? So this is a kind of a juicy, very sappy, very nutritious feeding for Vipassana yogi. So therefore, instead of worrying about not keeping in the present, he try to reconfirm the other aspect. So more and more you observe the past mind thinking about the past and regret, it's a reason to be glad, because you are reconfirming what is been already proved by the Aryans and the noble people. So this is how you have to discriminate what is the mentality of the Samatha person and what is the mentality of the Vipassana person. I am not going to discriminate Samatha person is ever a Samatha person, or calmness person is ever a calmness person. Person with the inside inclination is ever the Vipassana person. But you can see in the morning your mind will be more towards a calmness and it's more efficient. In the evening you may find mind is some or the other, find ways and means to entertain. Even without the calmness, inside meditation can happen. See things as they are can happen. So therefore, if you know when and where you are mindful, there not a single path, there are many, many facets. One facet is the calmness, the other facet is the insight. So when and where it is happening, if you know how to make use this opportunity, this is the knowledge you must bear. This is the knowledge you must have. This is called book knowledge. This is called theoretical knowledge. And if it is confirming, you can understand more and more practice, you are confirming the same thing what the Buddha experienced and delivered you 2600 years. And when and where calmness, it is in the here and now. When and where the regret is in the past. When and where the excitement, future planning. And for your common understanding or common sense, you can say whenever you become elderly, passing the middle age, regret is the natural mental state. When you are the early part of your life, the youth, always future. So it is not you. It is the advancement of the life. And some other says, whenever you become Asiatic, your mind is more towards the regret about what you have done. When the Western and the other people, they don't worry about that. They are naturally about the future excitement. Their excitement is their natural feeding. So that kind of some trends also available. So you can see at time you are a Westerner, at time you are a Easterner. At time you are a Samatha yogi or Samatha tactics you know at a time. You have vipassana, whatever it may be, it's a promotion for your mindfulness. It's a dynamic application of your mindfulness. If you know the theoretical understanding, not a single moment you are going to waste. Not a single moment you are going to while away. You try to understand that that very moment is cause and effect. It is my understanding, theoretical or analytical or direct touch. How can I develop mindfulness? So if you know both samatha tactic and the vipassana tactic, or calm tactic or the insight tactic, or if you have the samatha correct view or broader view or vipassana broader view, you can see not a single moment you can throw away if you have the theory understanding, if you have kind of rational understanding about what is happening, and if you have certain amount of practical experience, you can each and every moment become precious. And one day you will understand whether you know or not, you are always mindful. That is the point where you become advanced yogi. Otherwise, whenever past happened and the regret happened, you naturally complain yourself, I am not mindful, that is what the regret, that is what it went to the past. No. Whenever it is you associate in the past, if you know it is associating the past, if you know the mental background is regret, it is, I would say, more sporty, more adventurous, more radical kind of mindfulness. And maybe you associate in the future and you are excited and all the kind, but verily if you know, and if you are appreciating, this is a fact. My mind is associating the future, it's excitement, I know, not in the present, but there is a chance, still you are mindful. So this is the one, when the advancing you along the meditation, you find less and less chances to criticism towards yourself. Beginners are always finding fault and critical about self-critical, so they want to keep only in the middle, not to go past and the future. I would say it is crucifixion. It is not meditation. So that is why whenever such a thing happens, my personal judgment is, he is a calm, he is a samatha kind of a person. So I feel responsibility. So how can I communicate with him and try to enlighten him? Even the mind is associating the past, even if it is regretting, it's a cause and effect. It is under the nose happening. Why can't you claim still you as mindful? But this kind of commentarial exegesis not available in the traditional books. So therefore, my interpretation may be subject to criticism. But personally I know, no one can disprove it. That is the way I try to keep all the time, as much as possible, be on the ball. Even in the past, even if it is regret, if I appreciate that I was mindful, that is why I knew I was not in the present, I was not in the calmness, instead I am in the regret. It's very sappy, very juicy, very adventurous. So these are the things basically I learn in my Burmese time. I don't think I learned during the Burmese time. I learned how to communicate with other people. That is the beauty of the Pandita Sayadaw. He knows the way of communication. He take it precisely and convince. Still, if you know ways and means to prove, even if you are in the past, if you know you are in the past, that's a kind of mindfulness. Even if you are in the past, you know you are regretting, that's a kind of mindfulness. So you have to keep it open, don't suppress it. If you are suppressing, self-hatred, self-criticism can happen. Instead, if you see, is it true? Is it something happen, or is it I am doing something? If you see it is something happening, easily you can understand the cause and effect. Of course, may be very advanced. You can see the cause and effect relationship. You can be aware, I am in the past. So let me take yet another aspect, another dimension. When and where the object become desirable, the attraction can happen. When and where the object become undesirable, distraction can happen. So when and where in the body, understanding about the posture, so if you wish, you can take this in-breath and out-breath also as a pivotal point, but I am taking for the moment the bodily posture as the pivotal point. When and where in the here and now with the body, factually, in fact, it is no desirable, no undesirable. But whatever may be a sound happens and you become unhappy, you are distracted, so it's a reason to be upset and complain. But instead, if you know my attention must be with the breath or with your body, here and now, but the sound happens, distraction happens, verily if you know my mind is not here and now, it is there, it is sound, it is distraction, I would say that mindfulness which is enlightening to that is that mindfulness contribute you towards the understanding things they are, as things they are. It's a kind of insightful mindfulness. But Samatha Yogi usually do away with the distraction, always try to keep here and now, give as much as possible conducive conditions to mind to be here. And you must know ways and means, what are the conducive conditions for to be here, those are we call Samatha techniques. The meditation centers usually promoting it, supporting it. So therefore, before putting up a meditation center, everyone find whether the vibration and the atmosphere is more calm and quiet. That is because each and every beginner is coming to the center with quite a vulnerable mind. So even little thing can be distracting. And they are, first and foremost, they have to develop a certain amount of samatha or calmness. So therefore, the distractions may be more disturbing. But if you know theoretically, there is another way of making use this mindfulness into the insight way, or to see things as they are. Object appearing may be distraction. And definitely it is not promoting samatha or calmness. And if you know the distraction as distraction, it is not a materialistic object, it is a mental, non-material. And that understanding is more sporty, more juicy, more sappy, more adventurous and more radical. And I don't know how to design an experiment to see this. My belief is each and everyone has same capacity to develop the samatha techniques as well as the vipassana techniques. If you know theoretically distraction is also an object of meditation, whenever you are distracted, if you know you are in distraction, that's also kind of mindfulness. May not be promoting calmness, but you know it is promoting opposite of the calmness, and it's a fact. It's under your very nose. So that is the what, if you have that broader view, instead of finding complaints and regret or self-denial, you can see, yes, distractive objects are there. So to understand the body, be here and now, it is not distracting, it is not attractive, you must have the comparative distractive objects, comparative attractive objects. When and where it happens, you have to aware the here and now moment is no feeling of desirability or undesirability. Other objects often come under the two categories. desirable and undesirable. Without understanding this desirability and undesirability, you can't comparatively understand the feeling without desire and undesirability. So therefore, let the desirability play their own role. It's a matter of understanding. Understanding then and there. Understanding without anticipation as and when it happens. Let the undesirability happen. One day, you will understand there are a lot of space in between desirability and undesirability. You can say no pain, no pleasure kind of feeling. That is what you feel whenever mind calm and falls calm and quiet in your body. It is no desire, no undesire, the lack of desire. So that you will never get enlightened unless otherwise you compare it with the desire and undesirability. So that is the part, that comparative part is the what I call insight knowledge. But understand the undesire, the medium feeling as and when it happens. If you absorb into that, that is called calmness. That's called then and there happiness. So both of them is very, very necessary for a healthy, balanced development of the mind. But I must mention that natural mind, or I would say beginner's mind, is more towards the calmness. They are always chasing behind the calmness. Each and every time you are chasing behind the calmness, one thing I can promise you, you are end up with full of disappointments. More and more you are chasing behind the calmness, full of disappointment. So therefore you have to understand the alternative. When compared to this calmness, there are some distracting object, there are some attractive object. So when and where happening, see the distraction as distraction, attraction as attraction. Don't consider they as a defilement. Because our knowledge is always relative. You have to understand this is distraction, this is contraction and attraction. So Buddha find the middle path, no likings and disliking, no pain and no pleasure kind of feeling, and that is we have never experienced because we do not know how to develop this relative knowledge. So when and where you be here and now, when and where you are aware of your bodily posture, or in-breath and out-breath, both of them are very neutral. Unless otherwise you occasionally go to the distraction, occasionally go to the attraction, and if you know how to make use it in order to develop this relative knowledge, adventurous knowledge, that is I would safely define as yonisomanisakara, radical reflection, then only you see all the three facets in a feeling. Desirable feeling, undesirable feeling, no pain, no pleasure kind of a feeling. So when and where you come to the mindfulness, you find that is what it happens. So in a very, very technical way, in a very, very sharp way, the Buddha says, whenever the desirable feeling happens, attraction is the undermining tendency in your mind or disposition of your mind. Whenever the distraction happens, hatred is the directed disposition of your mind or tendency. When and where no pain, no pleasure happen, your ignorance is the undermining disposition. So imagine if you can awakening into the no pain, no pleasure, that day you will understand whether you are a meditator or not. Most of the time, mind is with the no pain, no pleasure, but we consider this as boredom, we consider this as monotonous, we consider this as lack of dramatic nature, we found it is uncertain, we found it is challenged. So, we compare the attraction and distraction only, through this relativity only, the Buddha is presenting. Only the yogis Those who are very sharp in the samatha and vipassana can understand there's a kind of a feeling which is not falling into this likings and disliking, and that is what you call the middle path. That is why the Buddha, soon after the enlightenment, the very first discourse, Dhammajiva Sutta, the wheel turning discourse, this basic thing you have to avoid is this desire and the undesirable situation. So without understanding no pain, no pleasure, how can you do away with desire and distraction and attraction? Because you know only these two. Only the meditator, after long discourses, after long discussions, after long practice only, one day will understand there is a kind of a mindfulness. You are in it, you are faced with an object, it is creating no desire, no hatred. And that is the path, least frictional path. That is the comfort zone. So that is relative to the attraction and distraction. So in order to do away with the attraction and distraction, you must have a thesis, then only antithesis you can refuse. But without a thesis, how can you refuse antithesis? Though therefore many lay people, those who are not practicing, they are basically simply on the pleasure principle. Always chasing behind the pleasure. Each and every time you pursue pleasure, end up with displeasure. But as far as you understand no pain, no pleasure, no disappointment. But that situation, our rational mind recognizes as boring, monotonous, uncertain. So that is the thing you have to enlighten. That enlightenment, understanding happening through the insight, but the calm meditation is give the third dimension, give kind of a tranquility, give kind of the calmness. It is not much of big pleasure or pain. You can be there, but the mind, insight, knowledge is the one going to give the relative understanding. So therefore this is the second dimension, time dimension, and the feeling. The third aspect, the Buddha says, sometimes mind is so lethargic and sloth and torpor. Sometimes it's so agitated, no calmness. So this is also quite often happen in the beginner's mind. Sometimes you sit and try to experience first Magga Jnana or first jhana experience here and now. So you are chasing and do with so much of energy, ultimately everything scattered off, no calmness. Sometimes when and where you come and sit, you fall into sloth and torpor, and therefore these two are the two extremes. So when and where mind is vigilant, when and where mind is diligent, when and where mind is mindful, aware, you are aware of experience that you are not dead, not sleep, not fainted. So this is the basic thing, or the beginning point, or pivotal point. When and where you are aware, you are not dead, you are not sleeping, you are not unconscious. That is the point you can say, the middle path. And when and where calmness increases, too much of calmness and lack of energy, you can fall into sleep. Less amount of calmness and too much of energy, the perplexed mind, agitated mind can happen. When and where the equilibrium happen, the balance happen, you can understand, I am here and now, I am sitting, I am verily aware of it. So how can you explain it to another person through communication? You can safely say, I know I am not dead. I know I am not sleeping. I know I am not fainted, but every statement is negative. Not sleeping, not dead, not fainted. This is the only way you can explain. So that kind of a thing, mind is mobilized, energized, and you are aware. So, with respect to that, you must understand the agitated mind. You must understand sloth and torpor. That is how the insight come into the picture. Not only appreciate this balanced mind with your body and with your in-breath and out-breath or rising and falling, whatever maybe in the walking meditation, but you are not completely vehemently against the sleeping mind and the over-agitated mind, because if it is so, you can't have this relative understanding. So therefore, when and where it happens, you use for the comparison, for reciprocal understanding about the unagitated mind and unsloth and torpor, and where it is false, calm and quiet, and no, verily, not dead, not sleepy, not unconscious. So that understanding is somewhat like understanding no pain, no pleasure situation. So these are the 6 aspects the meditator who is more towards the calmness must know. Whenever you associate the past, regret, it is not calmness. Whenever you associate the future, not you associating, your mind, then excitement, no calmness. Whenever it is with the desirability, attraction, no calmness, attraction. Whenever distraction and you are with full of hatred, no calmness. When the mind is congealed and sloth and torpor, no calmness. When the mind is over-agitated, no calmness. So in a given moment, these 6 aspects helps you to understand whether mind is in the center. And this is the way more and more you practice, unless otherwise you have enough mistakes. Let me repeat it. Enough mistakes, you can't understand what is the calmness. Otherwise, what you are expecting is you are just a mind-made hallucination. You must have the comparatively, this is not agitation, this is not the sloth and torpor. This is not an attraction, this is not a distraction. This is not the past, this is not the future. Now I am in the center. 6 marks for this calmness to happen. And when it is happening, the Buddha, I would say, the compilation of the commentator, they says, the energy and the calmness or concentration must be balanced. So that these are the alignments you have to fix. If it is too much of energy, the very equilibrium will be broken. So you have to maintain energy and the calmness balance. And you have to keep on exert energy in order to earn the next thought moment also in the middle mobilization. So therefore, don't let loose your energy at the early part of your meditation. Whenever you take the balance, you have to, for example, when you learn how to balance a push bike, there should have a certain speed, otherwise balance will drop. In order to get the balance, the speed is must. When the aeroplane gain aerodynamics, the speed is a must. So therefore, ever it is burning the jet or propeller, or cyclist is pedaling, likewise, the amount of energy you exert corresponding to your state of meditation, early part is, it is demanding so much of energy. Once the calmness sets in, that is something tricky. You must slowly withdraw this much of energy, let the machine to run. I would say let the autopiloting happens. Occasionally you let go it without much of exerting energy. Let me specify, exerting energy means noting, labeling, adverting of the mind. So after a while, when and where the calmness sets in, you can let the meditation to run, withdrawing. That is very, very difficult. Very difficult to specify when to withdraw. That yogi has to understand through trial and error. When it is happening, sometimes you gain certain kind of a balance, your faith balance with the wisdom, your energy balance with the concentration, and the mindfulness is intact. So all the energies get concentrated, you are going to feel unhuman kind of a balance. And when that happens, you are completely distant from your seeing and visual objects and the eye. You are completely distant from the sounds and the eardrum and hearing. You are completely distant from the smell, the nose and the smelling, tasting, external tasting things, and you are very tasting. And not only that, you are devoid of your breath, you are devoid of your body, but still you know you are not dead. Still you know you are not unconscious. Still you know you are not sleepy. And the body itself, you can't feel it. So this is the point where you can see the faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration and the wisdom come into such a harmony. It is an art. It is not a science. Till that moment you have to balance. But when and where it comes to the harmony, you have to understand this is the climax or maximum of the calmness or tranquility you can gain. So maintaining this equilibrium, maintaining this balance, two ways: vipassana samadhi, samatha samadhi. Samatha samadhi, you can get into a jhanic absorption and confirm, I can be there for 1 hour, 30 minutes, whatever it may be. But in vipassana, you are not absorbed as such, but you are keep it up all the time, sometimes predictable. I can maintain this balance for another 15 minutes or 5 minutes, or I can be with my body even though I can't feel the gross body. Likewise, the predictability increases. So when that to happen, only one simple technique is repetitive application. Repetitive application, don't lose the beginner's mind. Always you have to consider yourself as the beginner. Do it again and again. Each and every time you do it, you understand this calmness is a kind of an indicator. The alignments are there. Not the past, not the future. No desire, no hatred, no congealing mind, no overvegetated mind. And you know how to maintain it. So whenever it happens, you are ready to take off to the vipassana. And in the vipassana, you understand not only the calmness and the balance in the contentment in the present. Occasional distractions happen, there you understand, this is what you call the distracted mind, this is what you call the sound distraction, this is what you call the lack of concentration or calmness and tranquility. Still, you will see you are mindful. And that beauty, that aesthetic part in your mind, you will never understand as far as you are self-critical. As far as you are not let things to happen by their own accord. Whenever you try to manipulate the situation and go to air-conditioned room and no sound and soundproof and all the kind of thing, vipassana cannot develop. Samatha may be. So therefore you have to use the samatha, come up to the samatha, develop samatha, and either use it as the absorption, or you can use it to then and there understand your hateful mind, your desirous mind, your congealing mind, your overexcited mind, your past, your future, all the kind of thing. Still, you can associate your bodily posture. While all the distractions happen, you can associate your bodily posture. So bodily posture is the canvas. There may be a lot of drawings in the picture. So you learn the art of seeing through the picture and look at the canvas. As a pragmatic way, I would say, the canvas is, I am not dead, I am not unconscious, I am not sleepy. Through that canvas you can see distracted mind, attractive mind, congealed mind, activated mind, overactivated mind, past mind, the future mind. Don't think they can defy you. Once you understand the overall picture, this comprehensive understanding, you are the master. You can interpret terms and conditions, and that is how, even though you have not gone to the Nibbana, even though you have not gone to the full enlightenment, you see the positivity, you see the potential, you see the human nature, that human nature cannot be suppressed, cannot be distracted, cannot be defiled if you have the correct perspective, correct view. So therefore that correct view need theoretical understanding, that correct view as a nourishment, as a fertilizer, need theoretical understanding and radical reflection. And when these three going to come and work harmony, it's always electric. Never you can predict. So repetitive person who is applying the mind repetitively or regularly, definitely going to hit the target. So therefore early mistakes are so much valuable. So much valuable, so much so, you can't learn meditation at your deathbed. Because you have no chance to do mistakes. That's the only simple reason. You can't learn meditation when you become old age because you can't tolerate mistakes. You can't practice meditation when you are in the pain. You have no chance, no time to tolerate pain. So therefore more and more you tolerate, more and more you associate your pain or disappointment or discouragement, and that is the opportunity the Buddha Sasana or the teaching of the Buddha is going to give. So therefore take this amount of theoretical understanding and your practical understanding, try to reinforce, and don't throw away your mistakes, reinvest it with not only with the Samatha correct view, use the Vipassana correct view and the broader view. Ultimately you may find not your selection Samatha and Vipassana, the natural tendency or your personality trait will lead, and whenever you are going to manipulate, it is always distracting. So let the meditation run, and keeping the openness to the Samatha understanding and the Vipassana understanding. With that remark, I would like to sum up the today's talk. Thank you very much for listening.